Hello there, and happy International Day Against Homophobia, Biphobia, and Transphobia. So today, as your resident gay person, I'm going to talk to you, if you are a straight cis person, about how you can be a better ally to the LGBTQ plus community. Number one way that you can be a better ally is to not be a bystander. It's one thing, you don't get a cookie for not actively hating LGBTQ plus people. Being a true ally means stepping up and using your privilege to speak out whenever you see any sort of act of homophobia, biphobia, transphobia, or any other form of discrimination against an LGBTQ plus person happening. You need to use your voice and your privilege as a straight cis person to make sure that people understand that that kind of action is not okay and that you're not going to be a bystander and let stuff like that happen to your LGBTQ plus siblings. Step 2 is to advocate for LGBT equality in the law and really raise awareness about that. A lot of people don't know that conversion therapy is still legal in many states. Now, what is conversion therapy? Well, it's pretty much therapy that attempts to change or fix LGBT people to become straight and cis. And it doesn't work because that's not how this works. You can't control who you love or what your gender is. It is what it is, and that is who you are. And these LGBT conversion places are really awful for LGBT folks, and yet it's still legal in the United States in many states. So there's also a bunch of other anti-LGBT laws and discriminatory practices that are taking place all over the United States and all over the world. And so you need to do your research about these laws and do the best that you can to speak up, to advocate, and to stand with LGBT people trying to strike down these discriminatory laws or raise awareness about any laws that are holding us back. Number 3 is be an advocate for LGBT representation in the media. If you are a straight cis person who has a job at a major media conglomeration, or you're a screenwriter, or whatever you produce, that if you work in the media, if you work in a place where you have a position of power, and you notice that LGBT people are not represented in your films, in your books, in your screenplays, in your whatever, take a step to realize who isn't here, who isn't being represented, and make sure that you fix that. Because a lot of people say, well, why does representation really actually matter? Who cares if you don't really see gay people on TV? What's the big deal? Why is she always whining about that? Well, this is why representation matters. First of all, representation can break down stereotypes and barriers. A lot of people maybe don't think that they know a gay person, and therefore all of their stereotypes of what they think we're like or what they think LGBTQ people are like is all that they know. If you see us in the media positively represented, if you see movies and TV shows and books and media where we are the protagonists, where we are the heroes, where we're the princesses and the princes and the royalty and whatever, then that stigma starts to break away and you're like, oh, it's not such a crazy thing to be LGBT. It's not such a terrible thing to be LGBT. Media shapes the culture, and so if the culture shifts, that usually helps shift laws, and that helps shift a lot of the lives of people. And so if representation becomes normalized, if LGBT people are everywhere in the media, are properly represented, are represented positively, then the stigma about being LGBT breaks down, and there's less hate and there's more understanding, because we're no longer this unknown taboo, but we're your favorite characters and your favorite hosts or your favorite whatever, and that breaks it down. Now, representation doesn't solve everything, and I'm not saying it's the only thing that needs to happen, but I'm saying it's super important. It's also important for the LGBT folks out there. Speaking from my own personal experience, coming out of the closet, as I just physically demonstrated to you, was very difficult for me, in part because I had no representation, hardly when I was growing up, of women loving women. In the Disney shows and Disney princess movies that I watched and all of the children's media and everything that I watched, I never saw any girls like me. I never saw women loving women seen as something normal or something that was okay. And so I didn't know who I was for the longest time because I never saw people like me represented. And then when I started to come to terms with who I am, I thought that I was alone because I didn't really have any proper representation. And that's why representation is so important, because it helps LGBT kids out there know that they're not alone. It breaks down stigma for straight and cis people to know that we are not whatever ugly stereotype they have in their head. And it's just a more accurate representation of society, because we do exist and we do deserve to be on your screens and have our stories told, because we have a lot of amazing stories to tell. And I just say that my last thing of like how you can be a better ally to the LGBT community is to, and this is a little bit like the representation thing, but keep in mind where you don't see us. You know, a lot of people only think of, a lot of straight people and cis people only think about LGBT people when it's Pride Month. You know, we got all the Pride merch and stuff, and the parades are happening, and you want to go out and have a fun time, and you go out and you march and you wave your little flag, and then that's that. And then for 11 months, the other 11 months out of the year, you don't think about us, usually. I'm not trying to stereotype y'all here, I'm just saying that's what it feels like, I guess, on my end as a queer person. And just know that we are who we are all year round. We're not just gay in June, we're gay all year round. And we're facing obstacles because of that all year round. So in your workplace, in your school, in wherever, make sure that there are spaces, safe spaces for LGBT folks. Make sure that we're included. Make sure that whatever messaging, marketing, anything that you're doing is inclusive of LGBT folks. And make sure to keep in mind that, I mean, I don't know the exact statistics because it keeps changing because it's based on what people report themselves as, but people say that roughly 10% of the population is LGBT. So one out of 10 people, which if you see in the grand scheme of things, is a lot of people. Like, that's a significant chunk of the population that should be included, that should have our needs met. Now, some people say that number is even higher. I don't know, but the point is that try to do your best to include LGBT folks in your workplace. And to close it all off, homophobia, transphobia, biphobia, you know, we're not going to solve it overnight. And the fight for LGBTQ plus liberation has been going on for a long time, and it will continue to go on for a long time. But everyone benefits from equality. Everyone benefits from the abolishing of discrimination and hate. Hate isn't good for anyone. And so it's really important, if you're a straight person and you notice, you know, you have any internalized biases, work on yourself. Also, Google, research, do some research about LGBTQ plus movements and liberation and history. Work on yourself, educate yourself to become a better ally to the community, and try to make sure to use your voice to speak up when we aren't being included as much as possible. I hope this video helped you. I hope you enjoyed my rainbow socks. I just got these, so I wanted to show them off a little because I think they're pretty cool. Have a great day. Also have a great Pride Month, because I know that Pride Month is coming up. And remember, you know, enjoy Pride Month, be safe around Pride Month, but also remember that we exist all year round, not just in June. So sending love to everyone who has been affected by this pandemic, especially the LGBTQ plus folks who are stuck at home maybe with unaccepting families or who aren't out of the closet yet. You are loved and you're not alone. Thank you so much for listening, and have a great day, everyone. Bye!